Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to those who are listening on YouTube. Everything that is being said tonight will be recorded, so you can, if you want to say something that's a little bit interesting, you can exactly, or you can also re-listen to this on YouTube, God willing, afterwards. Everyone's welcome to give tzedakah. We have some coins out, and put in the tzedakah box. I also want to, this is a good opportunity to thank those of our members of our Chai Club, our monthly giving club, who without their support every month, these beautiful programs would not be available. There's hot water, coffee, tea, and snacks.
And cocoa.
And what? Yeah. Okay. Huh?
Yeah.
There's cocoa here.
Chocolate.
Okay. Tonight's that's part of. Tonight's question was submitted by Sandy from Erie. Very good question. Doesn't seem like a very complicated question, but it's a good question. The question was, why do Jews keep kosher? Pretty fair question. Why do Jews keep kosher? Jews keep kosher. We don't know yet what kosher means. We'll find out. But Jews have been keeping kosher, a kosher diet, for a few thousand years. And the question is, why? Okay, so before we get into any texts over here, so there's a fantastic book. It should be available online. It's called Think Jewish. I actually have it on the shelf right there. Written by a Rabbi Zalman Posner, who was a representative of Chabad in Tennessee for, 50 plus years or something. He wrote this book, and he was a genius. And he knew how to talk to people. So he addresses this question: why do Jews keep kosher? This exact question. And he explains that the question is coming from a mistaken place. So it's the whole basis of the question is a misunderstanding of what Judaism is and what Judaism is not. So I'll just tell you what he says in short, that he says the Western world, he says American culture is very heavily influenced by Christian values. Whether somebody is a person of faith or not, he says that the entire American Western world is influenced by Christian culture, Christian values, and to the extent that we don't know how to think Jewish anymore. That's the name of the book. And if we were thinking with a Jewish perspective, the question wouldn't even come up in the first place. So he says that one of the ideas in other religions is that there's, regular people, and then there's somebody who's closer to God than we are. And the only place you can serve God is in the place of worship. You can't serve God in your home. It's just not the place for it. On the street, eating, sleeping, drinking, these aren't things that are religious activities. And there's like a divide. There's only certain times you can serve God. There's certain places you can serve God, and there's certain people that can serve God better. He writes that this is not a Jewish perspective. This is a Christian perspective. In Judaism, it's very different. So let's see it inside over here on the first page. So we have a quote from Ecclesiastes, which is a fancy way of saying the book of Mishlei, chapter 3, verse 6. It says, "Know Him in all your ways, b'chol derechecha da'ehu." To know God in all your ways, not just in certain areas of life. And also we see in the second thing, from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, says, Rabbi Yossi would say, the property of your fellow should be as precious to you as your own. Perfect yourself for the study of Torah, for it is not an inheritance to you. And here's the last part, the main part. And all your deeds should be for the sake of heaven. All your deeds. In other words, there's a word for this, totality, complete, absolute, that every part of our life has to be dedicated to serving Hashem. Not only certain times, not certain days of the year, not certain people. Everybody, every Jew, at every moment and everywhere. Even, what?
I'm sorry, what does that mean for it is not an inheritance to you?
It's a good question, but it's not relevant to this.
Sorry.
We can get to a different class maybe. So, things like kosher, the foods that we eat, in other religions, maybe the food that you eat is not so important. For a Jew, Everything we do is important to Hashem, including what we eat. So the question of why do Jews keep kosher, it shouldn't be a surprise. Why do Jews keep kosher? It should be I want to understand. We keep kosher. We know it's important. Why is it? Okay. We are going to read the next source over here. This is from the book of Leviticus, which in Hebrew is Vayikra, chapter 11. So, it says like this. And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron to say to them, speak to the children of Israel, saying, these are the creatures that you may eat among all the animals on the earth. Any animal that has a cloven hoof, which means that the hoof is split in half, and it is completely split into double hoofs, and which brings up its cud, that one you may eat. But these you shall not eat among all those that bring up the cud and those that have a cloven hoof. The camel, because it brings up its cud, but does not have a completely cloven hoof, it is unclean for you. Yeah. And the pig, because it has a cloven hoof and that is completely split, but it will not regurgitate its cud, it is unclean for you. You shall not eat their flesh. Before we can continue, let's give I put a lot of ... because I'm skipping things here. This entire chapter, this entire parak in this Torah portion is dedicated to the kosher animals and the non-kosher animals. So a kosher animal has to have two signs that tell us that it's a kosher animal. It has to have split hooves, that the parsah, the hoof is split in half. Split in half doesn't mean it's partially split in half. The example here is the camel, right? The Torah says the camel. The camel is not kosher. Why not? It has a split hoof. It has a split hoof, but it's not completely split. A cow, which is kosher, a goat, which is kosher, sheep, which is kosher, their hooves are completely split in half from front to back. The second sign is that it chews its cud, it regurgitates its cud. It eats food, it swallows it, spits it back up into its mouth, sounds a little gross, and then it chews it again, back to actually a different stomach, back up, and this happens 3 or 4 times. So if it has those two things, it's kosher. If it doesn't, it's not. The 2 examples we brought here were camels and pigs. Okay, going further, now we go on to the fish. Among all... Yeah. Right. Kind of, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shosa Shesa. I need a chumash in front of me to see what Rashi says over there. But after class, we'll look it up. We'll see what it says. It's a good question. So further, the Torah says, among all creatures that are in the water, you may eat these. Any of the creatures in the water that has fins and scales, those you may eat, whether it lives in the waters, in the seas, or in the rivers. But any creatures that do not have fins and scales, whether in the seas or in the rivers, among all the creeping creatures in the water, and among all living creatures that live in the water, are an abomination for you. They shall be an abomination for you. You shall not eat their flesh. So, in the fish, there's 2 signs for fish, kosher fish. It has to have fins and scales. Fins are the things that it uses to swim, like the things that stick out of it on top and on the sides. And the scales are the little pieces that it has all over its body. If it does not have both these things, it is not kosher, and we cannot eat it. So shark, okay, whale, dolphins. I'm not interested in them, but like they're not kosher because they don't have scales. What's it called? Alligator, but I'm thinking of the crab and also shrimp. Thank you, shrimp. They don't have fins or scales, so they're not kosher. Okay, now the main point here is that the idea of not eating these things and eating these animals are kosher, these animals you could eat, these animals you can't eat, is something that God tells us in His Torah. This is a commandment for the Jewish people that that these animals we may eat, these animals we can't eat. Okay, that's what it boils down to. Now, I'm saying this because there are people who have this mistaken notion that why do Jews keep kosher? Example. Kosher meat or not kosher meat. Because there's back in the day, they couldn't refrigerate meat and you couldn't freeze it. It couldn't stay long for a long time. And if you left it out too long, it could develop some sort of trichinosis, some sort of a thing that could be dangerous or deadly, a sickness. And if you eat it, it could be bad for you. And this is more likely to happen by pork than by other animals. I don't know. But nowadays, people say we don't have these issues. We have refrigerators, we have freezers. So this concern is no longer a concern. So we can eat whatever we want. That's not why we didn't eat these animals in the first place. It's not because of refrigeration or diseases. It's for one reason and one reason only. Hashem, God, the creator of the universe, said that we should eat these animals and not eat these animals. Now, the next source on the page, you have the Ramban. The Ramban is a commentary on the Torah, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. He writes something very interesting. He says, now the most important sign of unfitness as food in fowls is birds, is preying, that they hunt and they eat other animals, they kill other animals. For every bird of prey is invariably unfit as food. The Torah removed it from us as food because its blood becomes heated up due to its cruelty and is dark and thick, which gives rise to that bitter fluid in the body, which is mostly black and tends to make the heart cruel. So let's say that in easier English. He's saying that the reason why the certain birds that are not kosher, we didn't talk about birds, but there's birds that are kosher and birds that are not kosher. The reason why certain birds are not kosher is because they have an aspect of cruelty. They hunt other animals. And because of that, they have a certain nature of cruelty inside them. And when a person eats that, they start to develop those traits. Now, if you look on the next page, the Lubavitcher Rebbe mentions this idea in a more broader context. This is a talk from the 6th of Tishrei, which is right after Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, from 1983. The Rebbe said, because through this that the body eats and drinks kosher foods and drinks, the energy of the food becomes etched into the nature of the body. As explained by the Ramban, which we just read, regarding the reason why eating cruel animals is forbidden, since this generates cruel tendencies in the person who eats them. When the foods and drinks are kosher, one's flesh, bones, and blood are kosher as well, such that they affect one's performance of mitzvos. So the food that we eat has an effect on us. We eat kosher food, we have a kosher body. We don't eat kosher food, we don't have a kosher body, and it makes it more difficult to serve Hashem. Now, this is one of those misconceptions. People think that kosher food is healthier. I think we know that that's not true. We have plenty of kosher food that's very delicious and very not good for us. Kosher just means that it's fit for a Jew to eat. That's all it means.
But it's more clean meat, no?
Yeah, I'm saying there's less blood in it. They use salt to bring out the blood.
So if they just look at the meat, it's healthier than...
I never compared it, but
Not the candies.
Yeah,
right?
Just the meat.
So the food that we eat has an effect on ourselves and our nature. You eat kosher food, you have a more kosher nature. Now, what that sounds like it's saying, based on what we said from the Ramban and what brought here from the Rebbe, is seemingly that's the reason why to eat this food or to not eat that food. You eat this food because you have a kosher nature when you eat it, and you eat this if you don't eat this food because it can make a person develop not good character traits. Now, this is a reason that's given. We have to understand this is not the truest, ultimate reason why we keep kosher. The reason is because Hashem said so. That's why. That's it. That's the end of the story. So how do you have a reason for something and that's not the absolute reason? How could they both be true? So I brought here from a piece of Chassidus. It was actually a piece from talking about Hanukkah, which is coming up in about a month. This particular thing is not talking about Hanukkah, but it's a part of that conversation. So let's see what it says. For all the mitzvos, even those mitzvos that have reasons, are His blessed will, or Hashem's will that is beyond reason. It is only that God decreed that the will within those mitzvos should also be enclosed within reason. I'll explain this in a minute. Moreover, even the reasons for the mitzvos, as they are in truth, are beyond the understanding of human intellect. For the true reasons of the mitzvahs are as they are in His blessed wisdom. And since His wisdom is infinite, especially considering that He and His wisdom are one, it is not possible for the limited intellect of created beings to grasp the true reason of these mitzvahs. As it is written in Igeres HaKodesh, the reasons for the mitzvahs were not revealed, and they are beyond intellect and understanding. And even in those places where a reason has been revealed and explained in a way that is seemingly understandable to us, This reason that we can understand is not the ultimate reason. This idea that the reason we understand is not the ultimate reason is also graspable within human intellect itself. For human intellect readily understands that a limited intellect cannot comprehend God's infinite wisdom. On the contrary, the very fact that in some places a reason has been revealed and explained in a way that is understandable to us is a great wonder, and is only due to Hashem's kindness that even human intellect should have some grasp of it. That was a lot of words. Let's say it in simpler words. Hashem is infinite. He's beli gvul. There's no limitations. Us, with our tiny little brains, we can't understand Hashem. So it's not possible. Gvul and bli gvul, which is Hebrew words for infinite, finite, and infinite. They can't have a conversation. They can't understand. I'm saying the infinite can understand the finite, but the finite can't understand the infinite.
What are those words?
Gvul and bli gvul. With limitations, without limitations. Come to Erie, learn English. So
It's high level English.
I know, it is a little high level. With our small, tiny brains, we can't understand anything about Hashem. We can't understand His wisdom. We can't understand how why He does things. It's just not possible. So when He gives us a mitzvah, He gives us a commandment, and He says, "Do this." We don't know why. We can't understand why. Not that we're not smart enough. We can't. We're too little. Sometimes Hashem does us a favor, and He brings it down into reason. He helps us give us a little bit of insight, to give us an appreciation of why we do something. So, for example, here, why don't we eat the non-kosher animal? Because it gives us a cruel or a negative midah, a negative character trait. But that's not the ultimate reason why. We can't understand the ultimate reason why. We get a little bit of an understanding. Hashem does us a favor. So when we learn here that, a reason for this or a reason for that, we have to understand that is a reason. It's a true reason if it's in Torah. At the same time, it's not the ultimate reason. One last word on eating kosher food. This whole chapter, which talks about the kosher animals and the kosher birds and the kosher fish, and the one kosher bug, it ends off. It says in the next source, "For I am the Lord your God, and you shall sanctify yourselves and be holy, because I am holy." So when we eat kosher, we become holier. Become holier, just like Hashem is holy. We become holier like Him. I want to point out one thing. It's actually very important, because I get this question a lot from non-Jews. The whole chapter that talks about the kosher animals, non-kosher animals, it starts with these words: "Speak to the children of Israel. Speak to the Bnei Yisrael." It doesn't say speak to mankind. Speak to everybody. Speak to the Jewish people. Kosher is something for Jews. A person who's not Jewish, they could be wonderful people. They could be on special diets. It's all good. There's no need for them to be eating kosher. They can eat pig. They can eat camel. They can eat horse if they so wish. They can eat, crab and shrimp. Enjoy yourselves. It's totally fine if you're not Jewish. If you're Jewish, you should only eat kosher food. There's no reason for a non-Jew to be eating kosher, unless they, for some reason, decide that they like the food better. So this is the reasoning behind kosher, again, which is just in a few words. Hashem told us to eat kosher. That's it. Why? I have no clue. That's what He wants. But let's bring it a little more practical, just to get some, for those listening to the class, even if you don't currently keep kosher, you can take a step forward. Just take one little step, and every step in the right direction, in a positive and a holy direction, is a step in the right direction. So I'm going to go through just some practical kosher fun facts and practical things that people either don't know or should know or can know. So, as we said, they're kosher animals. Beasts they have a split hoof, completely split, and they chew their cud. So that basically boils down to cows, sheep, goat, deer, buffalo,
Giraffe.
technically giraffe. We don't eat giraffe. Even though giraffe is technically kosher, we don't eat it. That's not for today. Moose, yeah.
Now the next question is going to be, why don't we eat giraffe?
The kosher fish, we said, have fins and scales. And if it doesn't have fins and scales, it's not kosher. Birds. So birds is interesting. Birds have a certain science to them, but the main thing with birds is a tradition. If we have a tradition that we ate this bird, it's a kosher bird. If we have a tradition, we don't have any tradition that we ate a particular bird, it's not kosher. Chicken's kosher. Turkey's kosher. Duck, goose.
Turkey's an American bird. How did that tradition start?
I don't know. It's a good question. Actually, there is a officially the Shalah Hakadosh. He writes in his book that that you shouldn't eat turkey. So his descendants don't eat turkey, huh?
Is that Jewish
Yeah, but they
tradition?
had to be on the table.
Also, when Moshe he showed all the he explained the non-kosher animals, the kosher animals. He showed each one. He had them.
Oh,
Yeah. Bugs.
Don't try to take away our turkey.
Bugs.
If you don't like it.
There's no signs for
Doesn't
non-kosher bugs. All bugs are not kosher, except for there's a certain grasshopper that's kosher. The Torah describes it has jumping legs and this and that. Huh? Grasshopper's a no. What does it say? Arbe. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the only bug I eat.
No, so we don't eat
Yeah,
it.
right. You're so Ashkenaz.
This is also part of the idea of tradition, of Masorah, that this particular bug, which is kosher, we don't know what it is. Okay? We don't know what it is. Ashkenazim don't know. Sephardim don't know. Nobody knows. Being that we don't know, we can't just pick up a grasshopper and say, oh, this is probably it, and then go ahead and eat it. If you are so inclined to want to eat bugs. But there are a small sect of Jews, I think the Temanim, the Yemenites, I think they have a tradition of which grasshopper is kosher, and they eat it. And as we say in Yiddish, Gesundheit, Labriut.
Yeah, just because you like cook does not mean you don't eat.
She's Yemen and she don't know about this.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel bad for you not eating them either.
Okay, so we went through the animals, the fish, the birds, and the bugs. Okay, those are the animals that are kosher or not kosher. Next is, once you have the kosher animal, let's say the cow, you want to have ground beef, you want to have steak, you want to have, tenderloin, whatever these things are called, burgers. In order to get from cow to meat on your table, there's a process. The main thing is called shchita, slaughtering. The Torah describes and commands us that we have to slaughter the animal in a very particular way. Okay, and the person who does it is called a shochet, a kosher slaughterer. They spend years, literally years, training how to do this properly. They have a special knife that they spend hours and hours sharpening it to make sure it's super sharp. And if there's the slightest little scratch or nick in the side on the sharp point of the blade, it can make the entire animal not kosher. So they have to make sure it's totally smooth. While they're slaughtering the animal, there's a lot of different laws that they have to adhere to, and if they mess up on one little thing, the whole animal again could not be kosher, not kosher meat if it wasn't slaughtered properly. Which is why it was always important that the shochet, the slaughterer, had to be somebody who had a lot of yirat shamayim, he had a lot of fear of heaven. He was an authentic person. He was. It says, what's the word? Hashem tells Moshe, "Kasher tzibisicha," as I told you about shchita, but it doesn't say anywhere. That's part of the Torah Shabbat. Yeah, in the Gemara, the Mishnah. The shochet has to be somebody who's very, very sincere Jew, that you trust him. It's always known that back in the day in the shtetl, the two most religious people in the town were always the rabbi and the shochet, because this is somebody that had to be a very, very high up there person. You have to trust him that when he's slaughtering the animal, you trust that he's doing it right. And the animals were a lot of money. They're still a lot of money. Like if he messes up one little thing and it's not kosher, and he might think, oh, this is a lot of money. If I let them know that it's really that I didn't do it right, they're gonna be upset at me, and all this money's going down the drain. So somebody who was actually sincere, and they valued this and it was important to them, they'll be honest, even if it makes them look bad. That's meat. Now, milk and meat. The Torah says you can't eat milk and meat together. I heard a story once, and this is a lot of people don't know this. It's not just about eating milk and meat. I heard a story that once there was a yeshiva school somewhere that some of the guys they got upset at somebody, so he was in the middle of cooking burgers on his grill, and they wanted to get back at him, so they took some cheese and they threw it onto the burgers. Cooking milk and meat together. They wanted to ruin his grill, ruin his burgers. What they didn't realize was that cooking meat and milk together is also, you can't do that. Even if you're not going to eat it, you can't cook it together. So, cooking meat and milk together, eating milk and meat together is the Torah that tells us we can't do that. Now, non-Jewish foods. Okay, there's a few things in this category. The Chachamim, the sages, instituted a number of different mitzvos to make sure that Jews and non-Jews keep their distance in a healthy way. Okay, if you take a pot of water and you put it on you take a fire. You want to cook water. You want to heat up water. Okay, you take the water and you just dump it on the fire. You have either no fire, you just put out the whole fire, or if you have a tiny little bit of water, you throw it on the fire, it just evaporate. There's no water either. If you want to have a hot pot of water, you have to take a pot, metal. There's a separation. You put the water inside it. And you put the pot on top of the fire. Now you can cook the water, make it bubble and boil, and you can have hot water. That's the only way to do it. You might say, listen, the fire and the water should get together. They should get along. It should be a beautiful, shalom. It should be peaceful. That's not how it works. If you want the fire and the water to work together, there has to be a separation. Okay? So Hashem made a separation between Jews and non-Jews. They should get along, they should be friendly with each other, but there's certain boundaries we don't cross. So to prevent, the main thing that we try to prevent is intermarriage. That Jews and non-Jews shouldn't marry each other. Non-Jews should marry non-Jews, Jews should marry Jews. That's the best way for everybody to be happy. So one of the ways that people get together and they mingle and they become more and more, the intermarriage. Inter means that they get mixed together, but it happens over food. So the sages instituted certain things that to kind of keep the distance in a healthy way. One is what's called bishul akum. Bishul akum is cooked food that was cooked by a non-Jew. Okay, so if a non-Jewish person, takes makes a pot of a stew, all kosher ingredients, a Jew can't eat it. There's details to this, but I'm just saying as a general idea. If a non-Jewish person comes and says, "Hey, I cooked you a chalent, I cooked you a chamim," yeah, I said there's details to it. It's just a general idea. So if they come and they serve you this delicious looking stew or soup or whatever, say thank you, but I can't eat it. This because if it was cooked by a non-Jew, it's not kosher. Also, wine that was. Okay, this is a little more complicated, but there's some types of wine that if they came from a non-Jew, they're not kosher as well. Milk that was milked. There's a difference in Ashkenazim and Sephardim, that's why. Milk, something called Chalav Yisrael, Jewish milk. So if a cow was milked, for example, by a Jew, it's kosher milk. If somebody else milked the cow and there was no Jew watching the milking process, the milk is not kosher. Not kosher. And lastly is bread. It's called pasakum. Bread that was baked by a non-Jew is also not kosher. Again, there's details to all these things. There's exceptions. There's rules. We're not getting into those details. Okay, that's regarding food. Now, in the kitchen, you have not just food. You also have your sink. You have an oven. You have pots and pans. You have forks and spoons and knives. What's called cutlery. Your cutlery also has to be kosher. Okay? If you take a pot and you cook non-kosher food in that pot, yes. If you cook non-kosher food in that pot, the pot is now not kosher. You can't use it for kosher food anymore. You can't use it for your food. If you want to use it, you have to make it kosher again. There's a way to do that, either by boiling water in it, or dipping it into boiling water, or to burn that with fire. But that's called koshering, to get the non-kosher taste out of the pot. Okay. Also, before you get new glasses, you get new pots and pans, you get new stuff that are made of metal or glass. you have to do something called tevila. Tevila means immersion, to dip it into a body of water which is fit for this. It's called a mikvah, or if you have an ocean. Not every body of water is good for this thing, for tevila, but they're not so hard to find. I do want to stress again that this idea of that Jews and non-Jews, that there should be a separation. I said it should be a healthy separation. Jews and non-Jews should be friends. They should get along. But intermarriage, that Jews should marry Jews, non-Jews should marry non-Jews, that was the main focus of these, why these things were instituted. Lastly, on a most practical level, hechsherim, kosher certification. This is something that everybody who's listening to this class, even if you're listening on YouTube, if you're here, this is very, very practical. If you go to the store, there are hundreds and thousands of products that are on the shelf in the stores that you already live near that are already kosher. Not because they happen to be kosher, because there was organizations that got involved and they certified, they watched the process of this food being made, and they certify, they put a logo, a little symbol on the packaging that tells the consumer, tells the buyer that this thing, we looked at this, we watched the process, we made sure there's no non-kosher ingredients, everything is kosher. So I just listed some just examples. There's more than these that are reliable. These are the reliable kosher symbols. There's the OK, it's an O with a K inside it. The OU is also a big one. It's a circle with a U inside it. And then there's the star K, which again is a star with a K inside it. There's the Chaf K. If you know the Hebrew alphabet, the letter Chaf, this is a Chaf with a K inside it. It's also fine. And then there's the CRC, which is a CRC surrounded by a triangle. These are all very good, reliable kosher symbols, and if you see this on a packaging, it's kosher. There's different standards. There's different things, different details, but these are general things. Like I said, there are more kosher symbols that are reliable. I just listed 5 as an example. There is a wonderful book, which I happen to have here. Just wanted to show it off. It's called Going Kosher in 30 Days. You can find it on Amazon. It's $10. Not that expensive. Small, cute little book, and it gives
like quit smoking.
kind of yeah. So it's not necessarily 30 days, but it takes, the point of this book is not to make you have a fully kosher home as fast as you can. It's as it says over here, Going Kosher in 30 Days, an easy step-by-step guide for the rest of us. That's how it's called. And there's a picture of a bagel on the front. How bad could it be? So it's part of the main idea of this book is to give you a relatable association with kosher. That it shouldn't be this foreign concept that, I'm not religious, I don't keep kosher, I just eat whatever I want. It opens up your eyes and your sensitivities to say, this might be something I could do, maybe little bit by bit, step by step, but I can do this. And those of us who already keep kosher, we always have room to grow. Nobody's perfect. We not always do we eat the right things or drink the right things or have the right utensils. We can always grow in our service of Hashem, our service of God, and there's no stopping. I think that covered everything. And if anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask. Huh? We're going to turn off the recording. Okay. Have a good night, everyone, and bye-bye.